My question to you is that, do you remember when we were young, like kids, and everyone kept asking us, شو بدك تصير لما تصيري كبير? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? And like, for me, I used to say, doctor. Most of you would say مهندس, محامية, عسكري, and so on. And I think it's probably because when we were brought up, we were kind of like brought up to think, you know, the other options available were like not real jobs, مثل إنه pretend jobs. So like that time when I was talking to my dad, وقلت له, Dad, I'm thinking of like doing graphic design بالجامعة. I was like, مايا روقي شو عم تحسي؟ graphic design هاي منا شغل، فيك ترسمي بوقت فراغك. All right, so you know what I mean. So right after graduating college, I took a year off from studying. It was more of an accidental thing than an intentional one. And I spent that year volunteering and also dabbling between a part-time job and a semi-internship. And in that gap year, I had one of those eureka moments. And it was like I discovered, and we've been asking the questions wrong our whole lives. Because instead of asking our kids what they want to be when they grow up, I think what we should be asking them is what do they want to do when they grow up. And we also need to ask ourselves and others, what is it that you and I aspire to do with our lives? Once you do that, the becoming part will eventually follow. My name is Maya Terro, and I'm here today on this red spot to share with you my 2 cents about how I turned out to save lives on a daily basis without having to go to med school. Nice, right? And I also am here as someone who usually walks the talk, and because of that, I want to talk to you today about exemplary leadership and the role that this leadership has in inspiring and propagating change. So exemplary leadership, Africa, is something that you might be facing in your everyday life, something that you might be doing actually, and something that you find everywhere you look, even when you least expect to. Let's start with part 1 of my presentation. And it's all about how is change created. There's only one way really to create change, and you gotta, and I quote, it says Schneebly in School of Rock, if you know him, you gotta stick it to the man. So what does stick it to the man really mean? Every success story I've came across بحياتي, either in personal level or in literature, it included someone who changed from within, someone who defied the status quo, but by refusing to conform to the prevailing ideas and making them their own beliefs and values. They just refused to. So simply put, in order to elicit change, you kind of have to challenge the status quo. And in this case, it really doesn't matter who you are. You can be a cleaner, a janitor, or you can be a CEO. What matters is what you are capable of doing, not what you are in life or what you are being. Allow me to explain. This guy is one of my ultimate role models بالحياة. His name is Martin Luther King Jr. So Martin was brought up to become a Baptist minister, and eventually he became one, and a highly successful and revered one. But most of us, when we talk about Martin Luther King, we remember the civil rights activist from Atlanta, Georgia, that eventually became the symbol, spokesperson, and leader of the civil rights movement in the whole of America. Now hold on to this thought and picture this. In this world, there's an extremely fine line between the what ifs and the what is. And in order to do that transition from turning your ideas and words, the what ifs, into real action, which is the what is, there's 3 things that you need to do. 1, you need to shut up, as in listen more. You need to stand up, and you need to start moving. I don't think anyone would be able to make this world a better place from their chair, except if you're Queen Elizabeth, because she can and she's a badass, yani. So Anyway, back to Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was able to do what he did because he walked the talk. He was an exemplary leader. And people followed him because they believed his dream was their own. And even though he ended up being assassinated for that dream, his legacy remains to be alive until this day. I've been advocating for change ever since I was born. Right, one thing you have to know about exemplary leadership and the reason why people follow leaders like Martin Luther King is that according to Simon Sinek, people will not buy what you have to do, like what you do, they actually buy why you do it. So أكيد كان في غيره لمارتن لوثر كينج who were also like working for the black people's rights, but he was like somehow, he stood out because people could relate to him. And when he said the famous speech, I have a dream, a lot of people there felt that that dream he was talking about, it was their dream as well. All right, back to the me part. So I've been advocating for change ever since I was an infant. وبحس when I think about it, I think I started rebelling against the status quo from the day I was born. Actually, true story, my mom and my teta keep telling me that the day I was born, I refused to breastfeed. And they tried everything and nothing like worked. And so I think I was like a rebel من أول ما خلقت. And أمي بتقلي أنت راسك يابس من أنت وصغيرة إنه عنيدة. And I'm like I know I'm stubborn but come on it's like for the good reasons يعني مش إنه stubborن بدي عرفت هول الجامعة لا ماني هول أنا التانيين تبع بدي غير مش تبع بدي باربي. Alright cool, got the point. And so I tell my mama I am stubborn, but for the right reasons. Like I do stand up firmly for what I believe in. I also stand up for those who can't or don't, because sometimes في عالم, they just can't, they don't have the ability or the guts to stand up for what is theirs or for their rights. And this is where people like us have to step in. That's when people like you have to step in. Unfortunately, the majority of people, especially close ones, would regard your قوة الشخصيتها كتير قوية عرفت تبع شخصيتي كتير قوية بتخفي فيها شوي أو ما بتتجوزي عرفت هو العالم mom keeps telling me that إنه حلوة ومهضومة وذكية ليه بعدك عزبة لأنك عنيدة. She's right. Not really. So إنه majority of people خصوصي the close ones to you will regard or mistaking your butt-headed determination. أنا بسميها مش stubbornness, butt-headed determination sounds awesome. Like they will mistake it for an ego أو إنه you're a bit aggressive or you're very disrespectful مايا ما بتخلي حدا يحكي. Those things, I've been there. And to be honest, they used to bug me a lot. كنت حس حالي إنه بركي أنا عن جد غلط لأنه إذا في شيء جواتي لازم طلعه وما بقدر. بحس إنه مثل اللي عنده دايرية بدي فوت على الحمام إنه نفس الشيء لا لازم أقولها أو ما بقدر أهدى على الكرسي إنه هاي هي basically. So yeah, it broke my heart أول شيء because I was like, why people do not get me إنه مش عم بحاول كون like someone. I'm really like this peaceful, respectful, really humble person. So what they يقولوا لي إنه عندك مشاكل بالإيجو. I'm like seriously, you're telling me that? So yeah, and me replying like that makes them feel more إنه عندي إيجو. ما بعرف ليش, I swear. I'm still figuring it out. So at first it used to bug me, but then eventually I discovered it's part of the process of metamorphosing into a change agent. إنه إذا أهلاتكم كتير قبلانين على الشيء اللي عم تعملوه بحياتكم في شيء غلط. No doubt. So I read a lot, and the more I read, the more I'm reminded that being different is actually a good thing صراحة. And it turns out that it's absolutely okay to be opposite to everyone else. Hey, mom. And it's really okay to not be okay. Hey, dad. كل العائلة قلب الدور. So take this dude, for instance. فظيع الزلمة عن جد. One of my other role models. كل my role models بتحسون هيك غريبين الأطوال شوي. So throughout history, the majority of those who were seen as different, I was like outcasts, or outliers, or outrageously insane for the subject matter, هن العالم اللي eventually did a major change in the world today. And they did that by being true to themselves. Yani they did create change, but they didn't change really. They just were true to themselves. They didn't let society change them. They changed society. And that's like what makes one leader and what makes another not a leader or a follower. So yeah, true leaders are defined by their actions and not by their personality. Time and time again, exemplary leaders have exhibited 4 core practices to all. When you see them in someone, I definitely think you might find them in yourself aslan. So exemplary leaders, they model the way. They don't just tell you how to do something, they actually go do it. Like ملوخية بتحطي بتشيل ماما اعمليها. You show me how to do it. They inspire a shared vision. ولما يحكوا بتحسوا I can totally see myself in her. You know, I'm not blonde وعيوني زرق وهيك بس I can relate to Maya. They challenge the process, they stick it to the man, يعني, what we talked about. They enable others to act, which is very important. Like a true leader هو اللي بيترك leaders وراه by giving them his skills, his experiences, and then they encourage the heart. And I think this is one of the most important parts. And when you're part of a team, you should always appreciate your team members and express your gratitude. Like for me, I run an NGO called FoodBlessed. I think FoodBlessed, all that it is and will ever be, صراحة, is all thanks to a group of volunteers that I call them hunger heroes. يلي لو ليهون, I don't think FoodBlessed would have been ever whatever it is هلا يعني. So I say hi to all my hunger heroes. You're up here, awesome. And thanks to you, we've been able to distribute in 6 years over 280,000 meals to people in need. أكيد you're wondering what is FoodBlessed. So تنرجع شوي بالزمن. I started volunteering when I was 14. ما كنت هالقد طويلة, but that's fine. And volunteering has taught me that making the world a better place is something that you can do every day, صراحة, and really doesn't cost that much money. You just need to have the time and the will. And in 2012, I became a food activist وأسست جمعية اسمها FoodBlessed, which is a community-based and volunteer-driven NGO that works on food rescue. كل شيء أكل بينكب نحن we rescue that. And on food poverty. So how can we provide meals for those who can't afford 3 meals a day? And not only did FoodBlessed enable me to inspire and lead change, it also enabled me to give others the opportunity to be active citizens in their community and to be part of the solution that most of us just nag about, like إنه يا الله مش ظابط هالبلد. So before FoodBlessed, I thought people really didn't care enough. إنه هو العالم آخر همهم في فقر على الطريق عم ياكل مزوي. عادي أنا باكل بيتزا 2 كمان إذا فيي. And I was wrong. I was really wrong. People really cared, but they didn't know how to change that care, that sincere care, into sustainable action. And that's what FoodBlessed helped people do. That's what I help people through FoodBlessed do. I help them find a purpose. كل شيء عندهم care, I help them to turn it into action. And according to that's FoodBlessed, by the way, my awesome. Fina na'tiyun a huge clap another time. I love them. Diffusion theory of innovation. It talks about once change is created, how do we propagate this change? Yani, okay, fine, I'm this rebel, but what is going to make other people join the movement, right? Sometimes it's jameli, and I understand, Anjad. Which is fine, it's a good thing. But other times it's what's here, يعني, which is cool, come in. So yeah, in FoodBlessed, I discovered that through food and volunteerism, I was able to empower people in the society to give back to their community, but I was also able to empower العالم اللي هن usually outcast لأنهم فقر أو حرام وعارف شو. No, we used to treat these people like equal to us. We used to treat them the way we want to be treated. Because if you think about it, food is so quintessential to everything we do. And from the day we are born to the day we die, food is there. You like it or you don't, you're on a diet or not, food is there. And so, FoodBlessed, when we say food, we don't mean a meal, يعني عم تاكلوها بس. To us, food is more than that. To us, food is all about social cohesion and about love and about respect. And FoodBlessed teaches people to be mindful about the food they consume and how they discard it and how they value food, but also teaches them to be mindful about the planet and about those who are less fortunate than you. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said that to be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. And I know this is going to sound corny وcheesy وإنه في ناس رح تدمع بس في Kleenex what about it بس إنه عن جد being true to yourself is one of like the most liberating, albeit at the same time one of the hardest things that you can do. And I think that the secret to like creating change and propagating change is by walking the talk, is by being the change you want to see. And like I did it, and I think you can too. It could be a meal, it could be 42 miles, it could be opening a door for a total stranger, or opening your heart for someone like you never met before. The thing that matters is not what you do and how you do it. What matters is why you do it. What's the point of doing it? And in my opinion, it should always be to make this world a better place by treating others the way you want to be treated. And at FoodBlessed, we believe that everything that revolves around the meal that we serve or cook or share with someone is something that brings people together, people who would have never met. وهيدي الميل, it's not just about nutrition to the body, it holds a bigger, nobler social meaning, that of respect, love, and social cohesion. Which is why I always ask my hunger heroes what that you're serving a meal. Just treat these people the way you want to be treated. And I also add side note, smiling is not an option, it's kind of necessity, so. I'm not done. If you don't feed, okay, خلينا نركز نرجع بس آخر point. If you don't feed your mind and your soul, you just exist. And there's a huge difference between staying alive and between living. I choose to live every day, even though sometimes I wish I could be dead, but that's me. And I hope, not I hope, wallah, I'm more like, I want to ask you, what will it be that which you will choose? Thank you. Now, question. Is this your